everybody, welcome back to HitPoint. Again, a JRPG news show where Baku and I will be talking about all kinds of discussion topics today. Well, actually, mostly just one main discussion topic, but there's going to be a few things. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty here, I think, due to YouTube being a little bit weird. But hey, that's all right. We're always a little bit weird. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about some industry news, some JRPG community news, and anything that catches our interest and or ire. We stream live every single Sunday now. Sundays again. We're back on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. Today marks the first of what I am, at least in my headcanon, referring to as like season 2 of HitPoint. So things are going swimmingly so far, obviously. This, by the way, aims to accomplish a couple of goals. We're going to be, just so everybody knows, we're kind of de-emphasizing the whole RPG trailers things, talking about the upcoming games this week, though we still might catch up on one of those once in a while instead emphasizing the discussion ended side of the podcast and kind of laser focusing in so we can get even more in depth into our discussion topics and maybe even broaden out into some other new stuff that we haven't even done before. So hopefully this will free us up for a lot of fun shenanigans in the future. I am SuperDerek, and joining me today, as always, is my wonderful co-host and good buddy Baku. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh my God, I'm finally done with my semester.
Yes.
I'm finally done with my semester.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, just waiting for summer semester to start. I can't wait to just like be done with the whole program.
No more,
but
no more Sunday classes for you, Baku. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, no more Sunday classes ever again. I don't think hell would have to freeze over if I have to take another Sunday class.
Yeah, he just couldn't stand to be away from y'all on Sundays anymore. So that's why he's saying no more Sunday classes. Did I make you choke there?
It went down the wrong path.
Oh man, just conveniently timed. Oh, that's wonderful. But hey, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about what I've been doing lately, which has been a couple of things. First, I have continued my playthrough of Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals over on Twitch. It's been going really well. Twitch.tv/SuperDerekRPGs if you want to check that out at some point. I think we actually just got to the Ancient Cave, so anybody who's familiar with Lufia 2 will probably know the game just kind of suddenly took a shift to like a standalone like roguelike within the middle of Lufia 2. It's really interesting, and I'm kind of addicted to it already. The other thing that I've done though is I recently revived a long dormant show. It's one that preceded the HitPoint show that we're doing right now. It's a show that I ended back in the middle of 2020, actually. So almost 4 years ago, I ended a little news show called the JRPG Weekly Update. That show had the first episode in a very long time, in 4 years, just came out yesterday morning. And it seems like everybody's really happy about that. Based on what I'm seeing in the comments, the feedback has been phenomenal, and it feels really good. So for everybody who's going to be, missing some of the trailers or like the forecast of all the RPGs coming out this week, just look for the JRPG Weekly Update to fill in that gap. It's a much more condensed sort of video, 10 to 15 minutes. It'll catch you up on everything from the previous week, and it's going to happen every single Saturday. Rain or shine, that's my promise.
Rain or shine.
I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. I actually have a vacation planned where I'm going to be going to too many games, I think, this year. And I'm going to be away, but I'm going to try to figure out a way to make it happen regardless. So that might be something different. It might be like might be a cell phone video, but it's going to happen. So yeah, go check that out if you haven't already seen it. means a lot to me. And keep your eyes peeled and keep watching that. I'm a lot of people really missed it, and I also ended up missing it quite dearly as well. So it's good to be back doing it again. So have you been streaming
Win-win.
anything lately, Baku?
About streaming, yes. So, hey, I am now BakusanOG over at Twitch.
Mm,
Twitch, yes, Twitch. That came as a change. I intended to do more with like the WeebSauce like
yeah.
brand, but then some things didn't really work out with the video production pipeline, and so that plan didn't go through, and I just got really tired of going into people's channel and they're like, so do I call you Weep Sauce now, or is Baku still good? I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, I think that's the problem right there. So Baku's Baku, and we're back to just being good old Baku over at Twitch. So no more questions, just here you come by,
All
it's
right.
just Baku.
Or you can
I
also
think
come,
that's
now with
yeah.
the name Bakusan OG. You could also call him OG-san if you wanted to.
You absolutely can. Or Baku sauce. Apparently, people like calling
Ooh,
you Baku
Baku
sauce now. I'm
sauce.
just like, what is
Oh
this?
man, you're getting all kinds of good nicknames.
I heard a new nickname somewhere along the way. So I'll take any of that. But the important thing is I've learned something here about branding, and let's just say that YouTube stuff is still happening. That's why you're not seeing a change here on my YouTube link. We're still doing stuff. I've actually just reestablished the pipeline. We should have new videos over there soon. So look forward to that. But come by and hang out over at Twitch. It's just gonna be BakusanOG now.
Awesome. So
Yes.
let's go ahead and try and catch up on some of the comments that we got. We skipped last week.
Hmm.
So from a couple of weeks ago, we had a few comments. And I also want to throw out this out real quick. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you may do so at HitPoint at SuperDerekRPGs.com. You can send us a voice file there, or you could call us at 785-337-3805, and we'll play it on the air. And that's also the same number that I'll be using for JRPG Weekly Update voicemail if you feel like leaving one there as well. All right.
All
Do you want to
right.
kick us off with this first one here, Baku?
Yeah, let's do it. So we've got a special thanks. I didn't even, super thanks, not special thing. It's a super thanks. I didn't even know that that was a thing, but a super thanks from Anthony Herrick 452, who said, "Really cool show. Sorry about the rough week. Your video game and RPG knowledge is impressive. Honestly, you both are amazing. Thanks for the show." Yeah, totally didn't pick that because it's the singing us praises, and we can always use more of that. But seriously, any of the super thanks, we're definitely gonna read on the show. So thank you so much again for sending that over to us. That means a lot.
Yeah, much appreciated, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show. This one comes from Model James 13, who says Eiyuden Chronicle is the bomb, and all that, at least so far. Thumbs up. And I'm
Mm.
waiting on Chained Echoes. But new update Q2 2024 allegedly for the physical copy.
Jeez, yeah. I'll play this game one day. Just like I have a lot more faith in Sea of Stars. I picked it up on Amazon
Mhm.
for one. But Chained Echoes, I guess I'll get to play Chained Echoes one day.
Someday. It's
Someday.
it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anyone who's like, why can't you just get the digital version? Because I already paid an arm and a leg for the physical edition. I'm not paying it again just because some people can't deliver. Not talking about the author to the game, by the way. Like that person
No.
has no control over distribution, or at least very little control after they have already agreed to a distributor. Everything relies on the distributor.
The
Yeah.
distributor, I think, should really take a feather from the cap of Rabbit and Bear Studios, who has just done a masterclass showing everybody how it's done. We talked about it last week a little bit, but Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, the Switch version, physical version, was delayed.
Mhm.
But in order to allow everybody to play it at launch they sent everybody a who was entitled to a physical Switch version. They sent a digital download code so you could start playing immediate. So what's to stop the distributor here from being able to fill in that you know
Like
that
a
void?
year of void. They're late for all. I think they're late for more than a year at this point. So yeah, we'll
This is
see.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say something about Yeti.
Do you
So
suppose are they
not
waiting for
Rabbit
like
and Bear.
are they waiting for like storage medium costs to sink? Like,
No idea.
is that what's
Yeah.
going on, man?
Like you know, again, and we've said this before, but I think the geopolitical situation in the world affecting the trade routes, I get that, and like COVID and just like the residual backups, I get all that,
Mhm.
but none of that stops them from being more proactive about communicating on the status. Like, what are you so afraid
100%.
of, right? Yeah, like I
Bad things
get the
happen,
delay. Yeah,
but being dead silent isn't
it's
one thing that is that's
no.
something that is within your control, no matter what
Yes.
happens, right?
Yeah. Like I'm trying to be very fair here. Like I understand things happen even beyond their control, but nothing stops them from just sending a message, "Hey, looks like we're going to miss this deadline because reasons and we're working, we're doing our best to try to get this over." Nothing, just silence, man. Like it's really bad. Um, and back to the whole thing with Eiyuden Chronicles, like I think Rapid Bear Studio is probably doing their best as well in accommodating. But
Mhm.
Yeti, which is like their distributor that they have selected for the the backers,
Yeah.
not great. Like there's that whole debacle with like adding additional fees and then not really communicating that until someone like discovered it or something. I think that was one thing, but the game was actually just waiting for me to go and pay for postage.
Really?
And yeah, I didn't get any notification. I checked my emails. I've checked anything that comes from Yeti, or Kickstarter for that matter. Nothing. And
Weird.
yeah, the game was just there. And so, because everyone's getting their copies, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting any notification about, oh, hey, we're gonna ship it to you now, or like,
Yeah.
hey, can you come and pay for this postage so we'll ship it to you? Like, which I thought would happen. Like, I don't mind adding additional postage to get it shipped
Mhm.
over to me. That's fine, but I didn't
Maybe
get a notification. Period.
maybe I should
Uh,
look into mine too, because honestly, I don't remember if I got the Switch version or PS5, and I just know I haven't got it yet. And
mm, that.
and may, I mean, it could be that I just need to go pay for my shipping to get it here.
Mhm. Chances are yes. Chances are
Okay.
yes. So that's also maybe a PSA for everyone who's listening. If you have backed Eiyuden Chronicles, 100 Heroes, and you have not yet received your physical copy, and you have not paid for shipping, they are probably expecting additional shipping from you, and they probably didn't send you a notification. You have to log on to Yeti, log onto your account, and then boom, there it is. Like, oh, you gotta pay $6 to ship it to you. It's like, what? Seriously? Like, again,
Like, why would they not have done that to start with? Like when you set up your account.
I don't know. If I can only make sense of the reasons why stupid happens,
Hmm.
I would win the Nobel Peace Prize. I
I
think that's worth the
yeah.
Nobel Peace Prize.
I believe I see other people saying that that also happened to them.
Mm,
My gosh, I
yeah.
that's astounding. I don't think I remember paying for shipping. So either
Mhm.
way, even if I did pre-order a Switch version, I should probably go make sure that I have added shipping for that. So
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Too Lucky says that it was an extra $20 for them.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, that
yeah. I'm so sorry to hear that,
oof,
man.
oof.
Yikes. Yeah, that's horrific. That's horrific. Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's like a third of a
That's a third of a game.
triple A title. Yeah, that's a third of a triple A title right there. $20 just for
Oh
shipping.
my,
That's insane.
yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
I'll grab this next question or this next comment as well, because I feel like it probably means a little bit more to me than it does to you here, Baku.
Oh,
But
okay.
this one comes from Gobosocks20, who
Hmm.
said we brought up Bethesda briefly
Hmm.
yesterday or last time, and they said Bethesda did the same thing to Hello Games did with No Man's Sky to Fallout 76.
Hmm.
And surprisingly, I've been hearing a lot of like positive feedback lately about Fallout 4's Fallout 4 in particular just had a big update coming to the
Fallout
PS5.
4.
Yeah, Fallout 4
Wow. Okay.
had an update released to make it run better on PS5 now as part of like an anniversary update or something, which is pretty sick. It's a free update available right now that lets it run in higher frame rates on PS5, which is
Hmm.
pretty dang sick. Um, so then now Fallout 76 though,
Hmm.
that's something that's completely new to me. I
Hmm.
know that it was really bad at launch.
Hmm.
And then I think that they were gradually doing some updates, but it was about 2, 3, 4 months after 76 launched that I just kind of washed my hands of the whole endeavor and was just like, it's just not a game made for me either, no matter how you slice it, right? So,
Yeah.
um, but but yeah, that's pretty
I
pretty cool.
think comparing Fall 76 to No Man's Sky, it's a little bit off. No Man's Sky, from my knowledge anyways, didn't add a bunch of like microtransaction and stuff. Fall 76 did, and they did a whole bunch of things to push you towards that microtransaction because probably the game wasn't selling well and they were trying to like make the numbers, so they were doing a bunch of that.
Mm.
There was the whole like what is it, the
The
Fallout,
culling and the strikes.
the cola thing that they were selling, that was a whole other debacle where
Oh,
they were selling that
yeah,
overpriced rum. Yeah, that's that
that
whole thing.
that came
It
inside of like a plastic container instead
Yeah,
of.
and the inside there's like a glass bottle and it pours like silly. There's that whole comfort bag thing.
Oh yeah.
There's the whole thing with like people hacking into the dev room and then
Oh god, I forgot
cloning
about that.
things. It's a
Yeah,
whole bunch of things. Like
there was a bunch of things.
I can't in good conscience just compare them. Even if Bethesda took some time and tried to like fix the game, I cannot compare them. Like that's where the similarity ends. If you want to go that route. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Hello Games has been clawing back their credibility like one update at a time though. I will say on the subject,
Yeah.
since they got mentioned here, I think it's worth applauding, just
Yeah.
improvements like that and continuing to support games
Yeah.
and making them work better. Um, sure, a successful launch is worth more
Mhm.
than a recovered failure of a launch, but um, you know, but it takes a lot of stick to itiveness to turn something that bad into a pretty good success that a lot of people really love. So
Yeah, there's a lot of like overpromise and underdelivered. We get that. But they also like shut down communication, didn't try to go for short-term fixes and just get to work. Just get to work and start sending patches out that starts delivering. That's the key difference between how Bethesda handled the situation versus how what's the company?
Hello Games.
Hello Games. Yeah, that's the key difference between the two. It's like making excuses versus not making excuses. I think that's where we were trying to get to.
Mm.
Uh, if Bethesda ultimately did take the route of like let's just push things out, I don't think that changes how they push like microtransaction and they even had an update. They pushed an update where they basically would push you to buy premium things. Like it was such an obvious thing and like it wasn't fooling anybody.
Ah,
So but that's
well,
that's all in the past.
bummer.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
well, darn. Well, I'm glad to hear that at least somebody out there is enjoying Fallout 76 right now, one way or the
Yeah.
other. Okay. So now I will go ahead and say that so we did get one additional game that was announced that I didn't talk about in our JRPG Weekly update, and it kind of caught Baku's interest. So I thought maybe we'd go ahead and check out the trailer together for old times' sake. It's just the one, and it's actually pretty short. So do you want to take a look at this together, Baku?
Yeah, let's do.
All right, where's my button? There it is. Okay.
That looks really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I love the look of this game. And I'll tell you guys all what it's called here shortly, but this is obviously just a really cool kind of Game Boy throwback style looking RPG. And I can see why it caught your interest here, Baku.
Yeah.
Look at that. You know, something about this kind of reminds me a lot of Metal Gear. You know, like the when you would like talk to people, Colonel, you know, what's going on? Snake, get out of there. Snake.
That looks really cool.
God, that is so good. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's talk about what this is.
Yeah. So, retro anime 80s sci-fi visual novel adventure is what they're telling this us. With in the spirit the classic PC 9800. It's sort of where the graphics is coming from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Oh, the
that's
monochrome screen. That's why it's
Nah.
okay. So I was calling it a Game Boy because that's what those colors meant to me, seeing those. But this is talking about like the green phosphors of like a monochrome CRT computer.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Go
Okay.
a little further back, just a tad, just a couple years back.
About the same amount of power, though.
Yeah, about the same amount of power. But yeah, so that's a sci-fi visual novel. Now, we typically don't cover visual novel, y'all know that, but this game just looks so distinctive.
Particularly cool.
Yeah, that we just had to bring it to your attention in case you weren't aware that this is a thing.
Now, did we say what this is called?
Did we?
I don't think I did. I might have messed up there. So yeah, let's
Sorry,
let's pull this back up.
it's called
Stories from Seoul.
Mhm.
The Gun Dog.
The gun dog. It's not a Gundam.
No,
it's
no.
a gun dog. Yeah.
Exactly. and it's from Space Colony Studios. Sorry, we skipped
Yes.
all of that, all the important stuff right off the bat. But it's just because the trailer is so friggin' cool, and I just needed to make sure we watched that together.
Yeah.
So did you like what about this caught your eye besides the fact that it looks so friggin' cool?
It's from the Space Colony Studios, and it's called Gun Dog. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's gotta. No, well, I'm pretty sure they have got a lot of inspiration from like the Gundam series, but just specifically looking at taking a risk, I think it's what got me looking at this. We've
Yeah.
talked a lot about indies, taking chances and
Leading the way
these
in a
kind
lot
of
of
art
ways,
style.
yeah.
And they're committed because it's so high quality, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy to take chances if you're not going to commit. Like it's easy. Imagine this way: like it's easy to go to Vegas, make 30 bets at $1. If that's not, it's $1 each. That's not a lot of commitment. You made a lot of bets, but they're not a lot of commitments, right?
Mhm.
Versus making one bet that's $100, right? You're really taking a chance here,
Yep,
right?
going
You're
all
taking
in,
risk.
right?
Yeah, you're going on in. So I feel like that's kind of like the commitment level. Like they're putting that $100 in there in terms of like commitment and the amount of work that they're putting in. They're really going in on this art style. They believe in it, and it shows. Like
It's
and it
paying
looks
off.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pays off. So that's what I'm hoping more studios will do is not just taking chances and just like doing the bare minimum and seeing what hits, but like people are not, like consumers are not stupid. Like we look at it, we know if you put your heart into it. Like we respect artistry, right? Even if we don't necessarily care for that's not really my cup of tea, but man, do I respect the amount of effort you put in. That's the right way about it. And this is gonna come back later when we talk about the main the main topic of the day. I think it has a lot to
Yeah.
do with this. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's topically connected for sure.
Yeah.
I should also mention to everybody here that this is going to be coming out on PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam this winter. So we don't have an exact date, but we do have a window there. And it
Mhm.
looks like consoles will, in fact, be getting a physical release, a physical version of
Ooh.
the game. So that is super,
Plus
super
one. That's
exciting.
plus one for all the physical, game aficionados.
Yeah, yeah. Coming. Let's just hope that it's not being, fulfilled by Yeti, or God, heaven forbid, who was doing the other one. What's
Which
their
one?
name?
Sea of Stars?
No, no, no. The Chained Echoes.
Oh, First Press, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope
Yeah.
it's not that. More like Last Press. Am I right?
Oh, jeez.
Zing.
Zing. You heard it
Got
here
him.
first, guys. Gonna be here all week.
Oh man. All right.
All
So
right.
so that was the one thing that I didn't get to talk about because I was just looking for RPGs and that this one slipped under my radar. So thanks for bringing it to my attention, Baku. Very much
No worries.
appreciated. Um, so now I think it's time for us to actually dive into the real meat of today's topic,
Mm.
today's headline, and it's the reason we have the really cool thumbnail that I put together. I'm very very pleased with how that came out. Um, Square Enix has reported some pretty huge losses.
Mm.
22.1 billion
With the B.
yen. So whenever I want to make a number sound big, I'll just report it in yen. Dude, you should see my bank account. It is huge in
I think you
yen.
should do it in Zimbabwe dollars, man.
Oh
Like
man.
I think it's like 1 billion for a penny. So go for it. Like I
Uh
don't.
Now, for people who don't speak international finance language, that
Mhm.
equates to about $147 million, which is still not any small chunk of change. Uh,
That's a lot.
it's a lot of money. It
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Baku? Pretty crazy,
Well,
right?
let me put this into perspective for people, right? Because for a company, $147 million, like for an Apple, that's like nothing, right? But Apple is also one of the biggest company in the world.
Hmm.
They're the size between Apple and Square Enix, like not even on the same like
Yeah.
magnitude
For
scale.
for
Nor,
Apple,
yeah,
it's a rounding error.
yeah.
That's that's like how much they make on interest in like their normal like 0.04% savings account.
They made, I think they made like $107 billion this last fiscal year, and that's a loss for them. So they couldn't make as much money. Only 107 billion, guys.
Hmm.
Yeah, not even close. They're not on the same magnitude. Neither is Square Enix to Falcom, which are both trading companies. They're not also not on the same. Falcom is significantly smaller, so you can see like corporations, they vary in size. Now to put it into perspective, $147 million. What does that look like for Square Enix? Well, if you recall back in 2022, Square Enix sold a couple of their Western studios, right,
Hmm.
along with all the IPs. That was sold for $300 million to Embracer, which is about half of this loss here. If you think about it,
Or
that's
it's
about
double
yeah.
the
Sorry,
yeah
the loss is half of the value that they had, the
that they had
gain that
sold
they had
those.
gotten 2 years ago. It's
Yes.
already lost half of it. So, yeah. so much for so if that explains anything on how much this is worth to them.
Well, the
Um,
Embracer Group thing is a little more complicated because they also wiped out a bunch of their debts too, right? So it's
yeah.
not just 300 mil, but
I mean, they just got out. They just got out of the red, and like I don't know. I think, and I mean, you're right, but also, that surplus was supposed to help them do better things and not
was
write
it
half of
gonna
them as
help them
loss.
do was it gonna help them do better things though? That's an interesting question. I think
Hmm.
that's assuming a little bit. I mean
I
obviously it's
guess.
what they were gonna use it for at the time.
I
You know,
guess.
there's a whole lot of dancing around these subjects because I feel like
Hmm.
we don't there's so many different angles to talk about this from, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one I want to attack it from first. So I guess, is this a strategic move? Like, what could this strategy be that they are approaching? Because
Hmm.
clearly they had some stuff that they had put into other games. Basically, when they're cutting their losses by canceling these games, they
Hmm.
are essentially saying we have spent $150 million on the development of these things, and they're just not going to come out. So that's a
Hmm.
wash. So so what do
Mm,
you suppose they got rid of?
that's a good question
And
because
and what might this coincide with, this change in leadership that we've seen somewhat recently?
Are you talking about the NFT games that they're writing off? Is that it? Are they writing off the NFTs?
That's my guess.
That's at least part of it, I think. Like, because that's why we haven't heard anything about their what is it, syndo
Symbiogenesis.
biogenesis, whatever. I,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I was Square Enix, okay, and I announced that symbiolysis or whatever game,
Symbiogenesis. Yep.
symbiogenesis, when I announced it and I saw everyone going like, "Oh my god, this is a new uh um
Parasite Eve.
Parasite Eve," and
Yep.
they're like the fans are so excited, I would immediately go like, "Huh, maybe I should pause this and, try to move some resources and be like, it's in development, guys. Yeah, we're making a new Parasite Eve game. Like that. I think
Yeah.
that's a signal that
That is
instead they're
such a
like, yep.
signal that they're missing a beat, and that they're gonna have some angry people if they let them down.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem fundamentally with Square Enix. They don't care about their fans to the degree that like we're all excited for. I mean, we were wrong to be excited for a Parasite Eve game. We thought it would be because it fit the theme. But then they come on, it's like, yeah, no. Not only are you not getting a new Parasite Eve game, we're gonna give you some NFT, and it's gonna be
Mm,
great, guys. And no one cared.
yeah,
No excitement whatsoever. No one cared.
yeah,
And then the project just quietly went the way of
disappeared.
the previous president, just like, woo,
Yeah.
just to sweep that under the rug. Didn't happen. Do do
Hmm.
do. Like,
And was this announced at the end of a quarter for them? Like, is this part of like their financial like date, like a annual, or not annual,
I don't remember. It was a while
quarterly?
back.
I mean, I'm talking about is these losses that they're talking about
Oh,
eating. Um,
what month is it? May. Is it their end of the year? I thought it was like
or not
March where
end of
they
the year, but
announced
like
those
they have to do like
numbers.
quarterly reports,
Like
right?
fisc.
For their shareholders as a publicly
Let
traded company.
me
Um,
let me look this up. Let me see what is $140 million yada yada to investors da da da. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know
So my
where
guess,
this is coming from.
I'm putting together a narrative in my mind of how this
Hmm.
has come to be, and what I'm thinking is the new president came in, saw what was going on, and said, "Hold up, um, cancel all this stupid stuff. let's 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 pump the brakes on the NFTs because those are that line is going down currently."
Mhm.
And then they put the kibosh on all of those things. They 86'd them. Now their financial reporting for that decision is coming to fruition, and now they
Mhm.
have to mention, for their shareholders, that
Mhm.
we pushed the brakes on this $150 million endeavor. That's
Mhm.
my narrative in my head. That's, I think, what makes sense.
Okay, so I know what this is now. Just to give context, when I said like March is when Japanese companies' fiscal year ends, which
Hmm.
depending on where you are in the world, like that, there are different norms to when fiscal year ends. In
Yeah,
America, I think fiscal year ends like in fall, right?
yeah, like
But
October-ish or
yeah,
something.
but for Japan, their fiscal year ends on the last day of March, which then also took them a month or so to prepare these documents and stuff. That's why it was reported at the end of April what happened, which is really, if you think about it, it's only a couple of days ago. I know we're May, but it was only a couple of days ago that they had talked about it. So it's in the end of their fiscal year 2020, 2023, 2023. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, 2024. I don't remember, but the new fiscal year started. So they're
Hmm.
reporting that their last fiscal year that they have absorbed this cost, which would have called content abandonment losses, whatever that means. Uh, so there you go, just to give some reference as to why we're seeing these numbers now. That pertains to their fiscal year that had just ended.
Yeah. So that's super interesting. So that's my hope and dreams, is that the NFT thing that they had been leaning toward, and you provided some really good examples in a previous episode, talking about how they are doing that in other ways that are tangible. Like you had mentioned, I think, was that on the podcast, or were we talking just off stream about the about how they had previously been releasing the cloud figure with a NFT attachment basically to it. And
No,
now,
we talked about this on
okay,
stream. Yeah.
okay, and now they're selling it without the
Without.
NFT.
Yes, which there's now
So
selling without the NFT.
which is another, just more proof positive that they are averting course. They have spotted the iceberg that they, were just in shooting distance of,
Mhm.
and
That they're
are,
silently walking away
oof.
from yeah, they're silently walking away from,
Hmm.
and perhaps that what they're doing is, I think part of it is just signaling their like resolve into a new strategy, which they've talked about. And I think we have even talked about it on HitPoint, where they said, yeah, we're going to um, stop releasing as many like, low budget game and start focusing more on high budget games, which has brought worries to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think that they are valid in being kind of concerned because a lot of our a lot of titles that we like the Mana series or the Saga series, like there's some dedicated following, and they're not exactly like the high budget games. The run,
Not
the
yet,
yeah,
anyway.
I mean
I'm
the
hoping
true.
I'm hoping that this means that they're going to start throwing more money into those things, though. Not that they're just not going to touch them anymore. Uh
Yeah. Like,
Maybe. Cuz I mean, Octopath Traveler is like a really good performer for them, right? Like that
mm,
has historically sold very well, enough to make a
yeah.
sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And the sequel, I don't know if it sold as well, but it has been received to be like one of the greatest in
Mm-hmm.
recent memory of their releases. And
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't played Octopath Traveler 2, guys, I highly recommend you check it out, because it's really good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I guess that my fears would be the abandonment of IPs that we really do like and want to see more of. Um, I think I just have a bit more of a, like, a hopeful nature in this, but I think we should at least try to address the and state what could be like the bad indicators here. Like what like is this indicative of a, you know, are they strapped for cash? Like, are they? Is this a situation where maybe they're? This would be bad, is if they're abandoning these projects because they don't have enough money to
Hmm.
actually bring them to fruition. Um, I don't think that's the case, but that would be a major concern. Um, or if they didn't have enough money to like properly market them upon release, because that I think we talked about before is also
Hmm.
a really significant portion of the launch of a game.
Hmm.
You know, and I think that we've seen this before with Square Enix, where they've released a bunch of games. I remember, was it the end of last year? They
Hmm.
released like 5 or 6 games in a month with like very little in the way of marketing. And oh, gosh, Star Ocean, the new Star Ocean was that the end of last year or the year before? It might
It's
have
the
been the year
year
before.
before. Yes, the year before. You're
Okay.
talking about the like that September to November
Yeah.
timeline
Yeah,
where
because
they
there was
released
Forspoken. Yeah,
yeah.
Forspoken. There was
Hmm.
Star Ocean. There was the Tactics RPG, Tactics Ogre
Pro,
Reborn.
it,
Wasn't that part of that whole like just oh yeah, Harvestella, Valkyrie
Valkyrie
Elysium,
Elite, yeah,
Deofield
all that.
Chronicles. Yes.
all
Thank
that
you.
all
Thank
that
you,
in
Dungeon.
those couple of months they're just like, what are you doing, Square Enix? Like,
It was wild to see so many of them just coming out like a
yeah.
fire hose. I know that part of it had to have been, you know, the fire hose that was just stepped on, you know, like there was a kink in the fire hose due to COVID, and then it just, you know, unraveled all at once and poof, just sprayed RPGs everywhere. It was both a great time to be alive, but also like there was no way you could possibly have kept up with all of them. And
It was
to
silly.
imagine Square Enix trying to market all of them really hard, like there wouldn't have been a a spare piece of like um of real estate that wasn't like plastered with some
Hmm.
billboard of like just to try to adequately advertise everything, like every website would have to be plastered with Square Enix RPGs. It was that nuts
Yeah,
to
and
do it justice, to adequately advertise, and still then the
mhm.
players of those games don't have enough time in the day, enough
Oh,
time in the year.
and the various day life. Oh, geez, that was
Oh
a
my god.
thing that had happened. Yeah,
That was a thing.
that was a thing. Yeah, there's a lot of games in the recent, I want to say the last like 10, let's say the last 10 years in Square Enix where um, it's so bad that we have just kind of written out of our memories. But at the time, it was supposed to be like revolutionary. They're like, oh, this is going to be great. And then it's like not. So that has totally happened. And I know like there's definitely going to be a couple of Square Enix like an aficionado who just really don't like what I want to say about the company. And believe me, I've grown up loving the company when it was still Square and Squaresoft. But nowadays I do critique them quite a bit. But by the next time I say something nice about Square Enix, I think someone's gonna come and be like, "Oh yeah, Baku is such a Square Enix fanboy." Just waiting for that to happen.
I feel like
Um,
in both camps. Like I am a really I feel like I'm a big critic of Square Enix, but also
mhm,
I'm a huge fanboy. Like I'm always rooting for them because they did make my childhood, and I really want to see them be awesome again. Like
mhm.
I'm rooting for them. I really want them to do better, but then like the other part of me is just like, am I gonna be hurt again?
Yeah, they just don't have the trust of their fans. Like I hate to say it that way, but fans don't trust this company. The only people who trust Square Enix today are people who play Final Fantasy 14. And that's not because they trust Square Enix, but
They
because they
trust
trust
Yoshi
Yoshi
P.
P.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's about it. Everybody else a worry that they're gonna turn. And you know, it's same thing with Octopath. Octopath Traveler happened, and then wouldn't you know it, they immediately released a phone game, and then Octopath Traveler 2, right? So
That
it's
did also
like,
happen, yes.
yeah, that happened. It didn't catch a lot of flack, I guess, but like, you know, because there's just so much goodwill with Octopath Traveler, but because it's such a great game. Even though there are ways they can prove it, you can't deny that it, for first like a new IP, that was pretty good, right? We still talk about it very
Yeah.
fondly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, it
And
was immediately had a
but
mobile
the
game.
but the funny thing about Octopath Traveler is that everybody loves it, sure. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody, well, there's a lot of people who really love it. Not
yeah,
everybody, but a lot of people
yeah,
really love it.
yeah.
Um, but a lot of those people attribute that success to Acquire.
Well, and then like Near Automata, like same thing. Like
Yeah.
near like Near Automata brought Near back.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it brought Drakengard back, and wouldn't you know it, there was a mobile game. It's like, oh my god,
But
just
then but then who
okay.
do people attribute the success to when it comes
Yeah,
to
Yoko
near?
Taro.
Yep.
And yeah, and there, and I guess there lies the issue again, is that there is no trust in this company. And I don't know if their new direction, I mean, I'm hoping that they're writing off the whole NFT thing. I still think investing in some AI capabilities is fine. There are some things that they can probably do in the production pipeline that they can benefit from it. Uh, Obviously, not replacing all the functions, right? Or
Oh
forcing
yeah.
AI to be part of a game. Like
Like
there are so many things you can do.
I
Yeah.
work in a company that is so far removed from video games in
Mhm.
my day job.
Mhm.
But even that, in just a far flung, very obscure sort of industry that nobody even knows exists,
Mhm.
um, in that within that industry, we are using AI to just streamline the process of everything from just like writing and receiving emails and like summarizing things to conceptualizing things rapidly. It's really interesting to see how it's affecting us. Of course, it
Yeah.
can be used in video games without necessarily being to be um, integrated into a video game.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem that no one's having. No one's asking for this. Like, and I think they
Exactly.
would do well to not add that in. Like, how about having AI that would just generate like dialogues? No one's asking for this. Like, please stop. Like, that's not, yeah, but having like I don't know, do very tedious work, like,
Yes.
very repetitive work, that's fine. Like
Hmm.
any company can just benefit from that. Didn't even have to be Square Enix because it doesn't have to be game developers. Like Derek said, like it could be any company. That's fine. Um, but if their direction is to say, we're going to start releasing lower, like not lower, but like maybe like not triple A games, but like we're gonna release only triple A games from now on, maybe double A, but everything else is put on hold. I think that's a very strong possibility that they're gonna do that. And how you would know it is if you see Square Enix start laying off people.
Oh
If
yeah.
they take a playbook from, if they take the like business playbook from Steve Jobs, like because every CEO wants to be Steve Jobs. Okay,
Yeah.
every CEO wants to be Steve Jobs. Because he sort of did the impossible. When everyone said that Apple computer is a losing stock, he went by this very simple playbook. He downsized, he focused on a thing, and he made it good. At a very like basic level. Like never mind the all the things about creativity and all that. Like we're not trying to get into all these things that are a little bit more subjective, but fundamentally he in the, I think it was like in the 90s or early 2000s, he just went he just stripped down a bunch of things. He cuts a bunch of product lines,
Hmm.
and he only focused on things that mattered, and he was getting ready for like the revolution to come. And it
Yeah.
came in the form of like music. and putting like the pod, no, the I was it the iPod?
Yep.
Yeah, stuff like that, and then eventually iPhone, so on and so forth, and the rest is history, right? But um, that sort of playbook, now a lot of CEOs employ. Like when they don't know what else to do, when there's no simple fix for financial woe, the playbook now is to uh, trim down, is to do a mass layoff, is to refocus the company on what they truly excel in and cut all the crap, all the things that aren't contributing to the company's strategy, cut. So NFT doesn't contribute to the company's strategy. It
No.
doesn't. Um,
And it dilutes
if
the brand. It
yeah,
really does.
even if it doesn't do any harm, right? Let's say NFT doesn't do any harm. Everyone is very neutral about it. They aren't. Everyone hates NFT. Okay. But let's say everyone is neutral about NFT. Okay. NFT
Almost
doesn't.
everybody hates NFT.
Oh yeah. Well, so the
There,
NFT bros, right?
there are still 5% of the NFT bros are still really
Oh, jeez.
they're still
Yeah.
hodling.
It just doesn't add value to the things they do well. It doesn't form any, and you're gonna hate this word, but there's no synergy. There's none. Like you're as a business, what you should do is focus your resources on things that elevates your other parts of business,
Yeah.
right? So AI
Something
could
that's
do that.
yeah.
Yeah, like AI helps your workflow, thereby, freeing people to do some other things. It could potentially have some synergy with your work and make your product better, cheaper, faster, right? Nothing. The NFT doesn't do any of that, right? It's just a weird fascination of the previous president who just thought that it's like a buzzword that everyone likes, and then doesn't really talk about how it actually helps, bring value to the customer, and
Yeah.
it didn't. Um, so I feel like if we see major layoff, I wouldn't be surprised from major layoff from Square Enix. But if you see that, then that's going to be a telltale sign of they are restructuring the company to focus on perhaps bringing the company back to form.
It could be.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it could be.
necessarily have to be, but I will also say that a lot of tech companies in general have been doing massive layoffs,
Hmm.
and a lot of times it's a little bit of monkey see, monkey do.
Hmm.
Amazon sees that Microsoft just did a bunch of layoffs. My Amazon's like, oh, I better do
Hmm.
layoffs too. Just, maybe they know something I don't, or maybe
Yeah.
it's sort of like under the cover of all of these massive layoffs.
Hmm.
Now it's a good excuse for me to do a layoff, and it
Hmm.
might not look so bad in comparison to all those other companies doing layoffs because I only laid
Hmm.
off 36% of my employees instead of
Right.
37%.
Well,
So
okay. So for American tech companies, and I think you're right, there might be something of that, but for
mhm.
American tech companies, like all the
That
tech
is
giants,
different though,
it's a
because
little different.
it's a lot
Yeah.
different because Japan's a totally different culture though, right?
Well, that and in the tech industry in America, anyways, there was this like huge, there's this wave of like overhiring,
Oh yeah.
and which is very unique to the tech industry. Like they'll overhire.
They would hire
Uh,
in order to keep other people from being able to hire those people.
yes, that's the strategy. And then, and then now they have to course correct, right?
Yeah.
They're keeping all the people they want to keep and laying off everyone else who just didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
And that's and I don't think Square Enix would do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of monkey see, monkey do. I would not be surprised. But I think Square Enix is in the kind of situation that like Apple was seeing themselves in, where they're starting to lose market share and lose money, like in huge ways. Like Capcom is just like eating all their cakes, and that's sort of where they are. So I feel like it's a better analogy to what happened back then. And if I was running Square Enix, I'd fire a bunch of people. Not to be mean, but I don't have the kind of cash flow to keep all these projects that I don't think is going to turn out to be great. I need greatness. I don't need a bunch of mediocrity, right? So I
Hmm.
think that's kind of where they're getting to. Now, whether or not the things that they pump out truly are greatness, we don't
Yeah,
We'll see it.
that's to be seen yet,
Yeah.
still for sure.
Yeah, but you do want to focus your resources and focus your attention to something great, and I get that. My concern, of course, is that they also have a track record of trying to focus and bankrupting themselves over a thing that ultimately flops like crazy. If anyone remembers FF13, is like probably the best example of Square Enix, not SquareSoft or Square Enix. FF13, they have this super ambitious triple A, universe scale project with 3 different FF13 titles. Okay, 13 verses, which turned out to be 15, the regular 13, and then 13 Agito, which turned out to be 0. Yeah,
Yeah.
but with much alteration and heavy delays. Um, I don't know if this is the right solution for them. Just trying to focus on, they have fundamental workflow problems that they're not addressing. They have fundamental cash flow problems, and they have fundamental trust problems with their consumers.
Now,
That's not going to all go away with this.
I feel like the cash flow problem might be somewhat overstated, though, or
Mhm.
just because I think that the several years that Final Fantasy XIV has been printing money has bolstered them quite a bit. So I don't think this is quite as devastating of a loss as a lot of people might think. I
Mhm.
actually did a little bit of extra digging, and
Mhm.
I was kind of curious, Baku. Um, how much do you know about Square Enix Holdings as a company, as far as like their financial situation is concerned? Like,
I haven't looked at their latest financial numbers, but I remember looking at their previous financial numbers and it wasn't great. They were on a decline in sales, but that could have changed.
so I did go ahead and do a little bit of digging. So first,
Mhm.
I wanna ask you, like, what do you suspect that their market cap is? Because this is something that
Mhm.
really surprised me when I learned it.
Mm,
No,
I
no,
don't
I was gonna say
know.
no peeking.
Oh no,
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to find it like immediately anyhow, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have the exact number in front of me at this
Mhm.
point, but I will say that it is currently over $6 billion as their market cap.
Mhm.
And I also was kind of curious, like, do you know what their, as of 2023, December 2023, do you know how much cash on hand they had?
Okay. No, how much?
About 1.4 billion
Mhm.
cash on hand, which is uh it's a lot. So basically this $147 million that they've reported a loss on
Mhm.
represents about 10% of their cash on hand
Mhm.
from that earnings. So 10% is a lot,
Mhm.
but and it is a lot for like 1 year or for forever, how long that was that they're counting this from. But it is not like they are currently on the brink of bankruptcy. And
Mhm.
it feels like a lot of the way people are reporting against it, it does feel like people are kind of overstating it because it is a lot, but it's not quite,
Mhm.
Squaresoft bad, you know?
Yeah. I mean, so okay, so market cap to me that's not the same as
Oh
valuation, right?
no. It's
That's just how much
it's
common
basically
shares owned by stockholders. That's
stock is, I believe it is the number of stock out there multiplied by the
Mhm.
current stock price. So,
Right. So it's more about stockholder confidence than
mhm,
anything else.
yeah,
So it doesn't really tell you about like the health of the company per se.
right. Yeah. But
Uh
the cash on
yeah.
hand, I think, is a really
Cash
big
on
part of
hand
it.
is good. Yeah, cash on hand is good, and that tells you more about like you can look at the like the quick ratio or something to that effect. It's been a while since I looked at corporate finance, but like basically you look at their liquidity, right? And
Mhm.
there are some. You also have to look at their debt, right? Because they have cash on hand, but what's the value of their like short term debt,
Yeah,
right?
that's a very
Like
good question. I know a lot of their debt was
yeah.
wiped out by that selling off of their other studios.
Mhm.
I don't think it was all of their debt though.
But
So
did they bring on new debt between that time? Because that was 2022.
that's true.
It's been 2 years, and you can sign on a lot of debt in 2 years. And again, I'm not saying that they do have a lot of debt. I just want to
Yeah.
say that there are other things. Like if we want to talk about their cash on hand, and I think $1 billion is pretty healthy,
Yeah.
but you have to look at other things, and I don't have those numbers in front of me. So I'm happy to do if you want, I can do a whole financial analysis on them. I could do it. I can look at all the
That would be
ratios, and I can tell you
that would
like
be
if they're
pretty
doing good or
interesting.
bad.
I don't
um
think you need. You don't. You would. I think you would need more time to do that than we have time for
Oh,
today.
I'm not doing it the second. No,
Yeah. Yes,
I have
according
to
to my
bring all my
numbers.
finance books out and then be like, okay, what are the things I'm looking at? There are a couple of things like the Dupont something or another. It's been a while since I analyzed the company, but um,
What is their
yeah,
EBITDA?
yeah, all the blah 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 blah. but like
EBITDA.
but like so the thing with them is
Hmm.
that I find worrying is like where their source of income
Yeah.
uh it's not diverse. Like imagine this, like, and this is a no-brainer. If you're a company that makes 10 products and only one product is profitable, and and that's your entire basket, like you should be worried.
Yeah.
Like and
And if you only have one product and it's a video game, and the people who are buying those things, if your reputation among those buyers is going south fast and you
Mhm,
report a 10% loss of your cash on hand in 1 year as a result of that, like this is not a it's not a good thing. It's
yeah.
that's really bad.
Mhm,
But there's time for course correction. Um, and it sounds like in my from my opinion, not financial advice, especially not for corporations, but it seems to me
mhm,
like this is a symptom of undergoing that course correction, and I'm really
mhm.
hoping that that's the case.
I think so. I think so. I just so okay. So there's the course correction, and I really do think that the next thing we're gonna hear is Square Enix is gonna announce layoff. I do.
Hmm.
If what they say is to be believed, I do think they will lay off people. And re lay off and reassign consolidation efforts. Like I really think that's coming up.
Just kind of
Um,
trying to get back to basics, you think?
yeah.
Kind of
Well,
a
I mean, think of it this way, right? They said that, and I forgot where I read this, but they did say that a lot of it is just like unannounced games, that they were in development, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Let's say that your product portfolio had 15 games, you're cutting 5 unannounced games. Where are the people who are working on those games going to go? Right? It's simple, right? Like it's simple logic. Where are these people going to go? Well, you either reassign them somewhere else or you lay them off, right?
Yep.
But if you have such a huge loss, like $140 million worth, it's got to be at least 2 to 3 projects, I would imagine. Like 2 to 3 projects, maybe about 60 million each, right? Um,
Yeah.
that's 2 to 3 project teams that they have to find places to go to, and all the affiliated people, they have to also be let go. So I just don't imagine them not having to lay off people and be able to completely absorb all the project teams and just write off and it wouldn't make sense for them to do so anyways, right? So
Well,
just from a business perspective, I think they're going to start laying people off.
I'm
um
very curious to see if that's what's going to happen because
mhm,
we've talked about this before,
mhm,
where Japan has a very different culture where basically you are a lifer. And a lot of
mhm,
times, like, people will not be fired because I feel like businesses, companies within Japan, a lot of times will kind of um God, what are they? They almost kind of are stewards of their employees in a lot of
mhm.
ways. Like they'll find places for them to be. So layoffs sounds almost like a foreign concept to me when I think about Japan,
Right.
so to speak.
um
So I'm curious to
yeah.
see if this is something that would happen, because
Mhm.
that would be that would be very unusual, I think.
But
Or
it doesn't help that the economy is also not doing so hot. So yeah, we'll see. We'll
yeah,
see. Um, but never mind the staffing part, right? Just in terms of talking about the course correction.
yeah,
It could I think it could go either ways. It could be that they are truly an understanding of what they lack, and that they are trying to rebuild that trust and deliver high quality product and really limit the amount of games that they release, at least in the short term. That means we don't see another Star Ocean for a while. We don't see another um Valkyrie anything for a while, and I think that's fine.
yeah.
They may focus on a new non Final Fantasy game and make that like another one of their AAA titles, and just try to grow that portfolio and grow that expectation. That would be nice.
Hmm.
Um, but I would still caution against putting all the eggs in one basket. I think that's the fear. Like, what's the
Yeah,
pro and con? Pros is if they are trying to return to form and really focus that passion and energy into a project, it may really speak to the fans. The bad thing is like Final Fantasy 13. I can't get over that. Like that was a
yeah.
Square Enix fail, and I hope that they've learned from that and
And
don't,
they continued to double
you
down
know.
on that fail.
Oh, jeez.
Who releases a failed game and then says, "All right, well, we're gonna make two sequels."
Yeah. And so I'm hoping that they've gotten away from. I feel like there's a lot of like not really raising like from within. Like I keep seeing like Nomura on everything, and then the thing that
I think didn't we recently talk about how they were
yeah
actually taking Nomura off of a lot of other projects so he could focus on like a single?
yeah I'm just like, bro, do you guys have no one else in the company, no one else that's capable? Like you've got your entire corporation, you've got Nomura and no one else. I mean, Yoshi P is doing Final Fantasy 14, I get it, but you should have at least maybe 5 or 6 more very competent people to lead major projects. No, it was just no more this, and then we'll put no more on this, and then we'll put no more on this. Not an enviable like position to be in for sure.
Yeah,
But that was an early warning sign to me that Square Enix isn't doing too hot. It's just you don't have the talent, or you're not willing to raise these talents, or something. Like I don't know what it is, but that doesn't seem healthy. Think of any other company that would do that. Like
yeah.
imagine if Apple goes, well, we've got this one guy here. He is our head of sales.
His name is
He's our head of
Brian.
marketing. He's head of finance, and he's head of like HR. He's just
Way to
gonna be
go,
head of
Brian.
everything.
Way to
Yeah.
go, Brian. Well, whenever you
Like
need something done, we just pass the ball to Brian and he makes the shot.
no, and that would be strange, right? Like you would be, if you were an investor, you'd be a little concerned that one person is just heading everything. Like,
Yeah.
why is that? Do you not have any other talents? Um, very questionable practice, and
Just
I'm
a
hoping they
lack of
move away from
confidence
that.
in those talents, I guess.
Something like I don't know what it is, but something. So I'm hoping that they understand that that's not the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Well,
well, what about you, man? Like, I mean, I've just like ran my mouth. Like, what are your hopes for, for Square Enix? You think,
oh man.
from all this?
My hopes is that they really will define their focus a little bit more on just what they are as a company and reassess. Like I'm hoping that this is a sign of like them saying, NFTs, we're not really going to worry about that anymore. Uh, multi-thousand-dollar statuettes, we're not really going to be focusing our efforts on those anymore.
What is
that's
it like the
that's
$12,000 Terra statue? Like,
maybe that's one of the millions is just all the unsold Terra statues
jeez.
sitting in a warehouse.
Yeah. I
Um,
love Terra, I love FF6, but I cannot 12K a statue. Are you
mm-mm.
crazy? Like,
Yeah, yeah, that was nuts. So my hopes are that they're just gonna return to the basics of just making quality RPGs that their fans expect and sometimes maybe don't expect. They've had some really good success. So with going and doing some different stuff. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping that
Yeah.
maybe they'll reassess what kind of things they have in their library. But I think they should really, at this point. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head what it takes for them to sustain their staff levels as they are right now, like how
Mhm.
many AAA releases they should expect. But I feel like if if they aimed for like one banger AAA release per year, like just maybe holiday season, like one Final Fantasy, one Dragon Quest, or one Kingdom Hearts, that would be my ideal.
Mhm.
Because I mean, that'd be ideal for me because then I could keep up. Um, you know, and then maybe some double A games here and there. Visions of Mana. They've announced that they
Mhm.
are taking money from I can't remember who again. But they borrowed money to help the produce this. So they should definitely follow through with that production.
Wait, they borrowed money?
Or it was financed by, I don't know if they borrowed money for it, but we
Was
talked.
it financed by NetEase? I thought NetEase is
Yes.
developing it.
No. I think that it was. I don't think they said that NetEase is developing it. It is my impression that they are working with NetEase, but I believe
Mhm.
that NetEase is like, maybe,
Nope, NetEase is developing it.
are they? Oh man.
Yo, yeah.
All right. Well, I was wrong about that.
There's a reason why I'm not hot about Vision and Mana, and it's not just over money. No,
Okay.
NetEase's Oka studio, which is the Japanese studio, in Japan, is
Okay.
developing Visions and Mana. So no, Square Enix is
Well,
still very much footing the bill. It's just that they're not developing it.
okay. Well,
Um,
that's weird and bad. I don't like that at all then.
no,
Um,
no, not at all.
well,
Yeah,
shoot. Okay.
yeah. Um, I just hope that
They
Square
should
Enix
still,
doesn't.
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I just hope that Square Enix doesn't take like quality game as like here's another Final Fantasy, like here's another
Yeah.
triple A super life, like what, like I don't, I just hope, I hope that they get, they get the idea from all of our collective voting with our wallets that like something like Star Ocean, the very recent one, did way better
Oh,
than
yeah.
Star Ocean like six or
Yeah.
six, right? Six.
Yeah.
Yes.
First Departure R. Was that
Oh,
it? First.
no, so six is the most recent like
Yeah. That was
main
the,
series. That was that, yeah, that
that
one
was,
that felt like it was like not complete. Which is even more frustrating because it was being released by with a bunch of game and people are just like, why couldn't you just finish this game and then send it out? Like
yeah.
Divine Force felt like halfway through they just ran out of money and they just like, yeah, sure, let's just slap an ending together. Space battle, pew pew, and then like the end. That ending was just the absolute worst
Oh,
ending I've seen in a long
I
time.
never got that far, so I'm really
Mm-mm.
sad to hear that. Oh, that
Yeah, it
kills me
was
a little
bad.
bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you that. But then we saw the remake of 2 and
Yeah.
everyone is happy
Second
about
story.
that.
Yeah.
A second story. Everyone is just like, wow, that was really good. Square Enix, maybe give us more of this. And that is by no means like a triple A game. It's not another Final Fantasy. I can't see
No.
like the pore on their skin good graphics, but we don't need that. We've
Yeah.
told you over and over again that we don't need that kind of fidelity. We don't care, to a
It
certain
does
point.
it does
Yeah.
sound like, the new 7 remake entry.
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds like that's doing really well and the people who are
Mhm.
playing it are really enjoying it. Some people are saying it's like, you know, the greatest game that they've ever played. I haven't
They
played it
must
yet.
really like mini games.
I, I like
They
mini games, and Final Fantasy VII Original was full of mini games, so maybe that's why they like it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Stop
don't I
doing the
don't I
weird
don't think
stuff,
I
Square.
don't think it's bad like FF7 and which by the way FF7 has like an established like name like
Yeah,
to go with it. But like but like we're not saying it's bad. All we're saying is that's not like a requirement.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I mean? Like you could make a great game that fans are receptive to without that kind of like financial commitment.
Yeah,
Because I mean, wouldn't be surprising to know that Final Fantasy, even Rebirth, just Rebirth, not including the like not the whole trilogy, just Rebirth would probably cost maybe 2, 3, 4 times the amount of development of like Second Story R, right? Like wouldn't
oh,
surprise me.
easily,
Yeah.
easily.
So, but if you look at the return on investment, like there, I would think that Second Story would
Probably
probably be
way
higher,
higher,
like per
for
dollar
sure.
spent. Yeah. So I'm just hoping that they get it, that like we like games that are good and fun,
I
not
think that
necessarily like super pretty.
when I think of Square Enix at their best, I think of
Hmm.
the games that I really loved. Dragon Quest 10 11, sorry, was incredible to me. Chrono Trigger was fantastic.
Hmm.
Final Fantasy 10, like these are the games that like they shaped me. I said it earlier today. These games were incredible. And
Hmm.
those are the kinds of games that I think of now, and they were heavy hitters at the time visually and graphically, but that's not what made me love them. I
Hmm.
feel like when I think of Square Enix, they are they're the hot chick at the party who feels like everybody only likes them for, the way that they dress all slutty or whatever.
Hmm.
Like they
Yeah.
think that that's what people like, so they lean into it. And now it's just like, "Oh, you're just being weird now. I liked you because you were cool and you had, an awesome personality, great story.
Hmm.
And you were pretty too, and that's nice.
Hmm. Yeah.
But, now you're just being weird and like I don't love it. Like just go back to being like normal. Be yourself. Like
Hmm.
stop emphasizing the looks. Like
Yeah.
that is I feel like they think we like them for their graphics.
Hmm.
I don't love Square Enix for their graphics. Some people probably do. And I will say Final Fantasy VII, the graphics is kind of what made it as big of a hit as it was back in the day because they
Hmm.
were jaw-dropping.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah.
they don't have to be jaw-dropping graphics anymore. Like
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
just happy. I'm here for the story. You got me here with the graphics.
Yeah.
Probably. But
It
I'm here
it's
for the games.
I mean, if you think back the history of like these games, right? Like think back to 8-bit, right? And then 16-bit and so on and so forth. Like that progression. Square Enix has always been like the pretty chick in the party, right?
Yeah.
Like and they still are. Um it's just that there's a diminishing return to that, like to the looks,
Yeah.
right? And at
Now
a certain
now they're a
point,
10 in a
yeah.
room full of nines.
No, I mean to say this as in like at certain point, they can make an Octopath Traveler and it's still
Oh yeah.
gorgeous. They can make a Trial of Mana and it's still gorgeous. It's the aesthetics. It's
Yeah, they
not
need
the
to
fidelity.
it's
Yeah.
their nerdy side that I like. Be nerdy. That's what's hot.
Yeah.
Come on.
I just think for them it's more about like how much resources are you dedicated to it, right? Because there's
Yeah.
a diminishing return and exponentially higher cost to making it infinitely prettier, right? But if you only have $30 million spent on a game, how much of that 30 million are you spending on making it look like Final Fantasy? And how much of that are you spending on your writers, your game development staff to give them adequate resources to create fun battle systems and make these mini games? Like these are all part of that pie for that project cost, right? Like how
Yeah.
much of that are you spending on just making it look like a Final Fantasy? And I guarantee you a lot of that is making it look like as pretty as it possibly
Oh yeah.
can be. And that's fine for your one AAA title, but I don't think people need that.
They
They can very well spend resources elsewhere to make it more fun. That's my
100%
hope.
agreed.
Yeah.
Or to make them run better on PC.
Yeah.
Optimizations.
Maybe spend some on marketing, Square Enix.
Yes.
I don't
Please let
know.
people know that your games are awesome and that they're coming out. That's
Yeah.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, don't mind you making things look pretty. Just know that at this point it's a diminishing return, and your resources better spent elsewhere.
You know,
That's all. Yeah.
you're familiar with the 80/20 rule, but for anybody who's not familiar with the 80/20 rule, it is just sort of this sort of phenomenon that seems to occur a lot of places within business, within almost every facet of life, where you can achieve 80% of the end goal with about 20% of the effort. And it's all
Hmm.
about trying to strike that balance. Because in order to get to the 100%, you'll then have to put in an extra 80% of your effort to get there, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but you almost never hit 100%. So it's all about finding the point of diminishing returns. So, I feel like they've really been neglecting that mindset, which is why they're just like, oh yeah, let's push everything so that you can see the pores in Sora's face. I want to see the little strands of whatever in his eyes,
Yeah.
um and everything has to be mocapped, and then after the mocap, then we have an animation artist go in and tweak all of the individual animations as well for every single scene that he's in, just to make it look extra. But it's like, you know some games just look better with a little bit of jank too.
Hmm. Yeah. We find that very charming. Recently, I was streaming the quartet from something classic,
Oh
and
man, yeah.
it is definitely, you're definitely not seeing any pores there. In fact, the graphics is very reminiscent of FF6, exactly as we like it, with like the eye pops and like the very dramatic, like, oh my god, what's going on? Like the Kafka sort of hop. Uh, that's great.
There's a really
Uh,
interesting sort of when it comes to character design, character animation, and things,
mhm.
and just like visual fidelity. The human brain does an incredible job of filling in the gaps
Yeah.
and interpreting simple drawings and simple pixel art animations and things, and like turning them into full scale like exaggerations and emotion, and the human brain can do so much with a little bit of information.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
like if you ever go back to PlayStation 2 and play the bouncer, the terrible little, incredible little beat 'em up from Square Enix from back in the day.
Hmm.
Another visual powerhouse at the time. It ran in 240p, but like if you look at it, it just looks kind of like a PlayStation 3 or maybe even PlayStation 4 game that it just
Hmm.
looks a little out of focus.
Hmm.
Like because they did some interesting lighting techniques, and they just kind of like, they didn't go too hard on all of the little details and everything. It just gave you
Hmm.
enough to be like, oh, I can fill in the details mentally. So yeah, it's a very interesting kind of case where eh, you can do a lot with a little, and Square Enix could probably learn a little bit from themselves, if they look back to the way they used to do things.
Oh, they tried. They created a separate studio
I don't think
called
that's right. Tokyo
Tokyo
RPG Factory. Yeah,
RPG.
yeah.
Hey.
I don't know if they really did or not, though.
I don't think they did, but they tried. An attempt was made. Did they succeed? No, not by a long shot. They wanted to recreate the magic of Chrono Trigger. That was a flop.
Dude, could you
Um,
imagine if they just had, instead of creating these like quasi 3D, like Nintendo DS looking games, they just instead just said, all right, make pixel art games. Like, how much better would they have been?
it's hard to say. It's
Because
hard to say.
because pixel art is so cheap in comparison to
Hmm.
like animating and rigging and modeling all of the little animations and everything. Like, yeah, pixel art. You just move the pixel. There you go.
I wasn't too excited. Like, okay, but Band did like the whole thing where they just like vomited a bunch of games in like 3 months. The one game that I was actually super excited for, that's like a new IP, was Diofield.
Diofield,
Yeah,
Diofield
I
Chronicles.
was
Yeah.
actually super excited for that one. I feel like they had a good shot at creating like a new IP, providing that they can create a strategy game that's fun to play. Look at Unicorn Overlord. Like people are like raving about it,
They
and
are.
it's definitely it's not new. Like we had like Ogre Battler that had similar gameplay in many way, but they kind of made it their own. And it's not like just a straight copy. They really thought through it. I played the game, loved it. I felt like Dallasfield had the potential to have been the Unicorn Overlord before,
Yeah.
right? It didn't really work out, but I felt like they had a shot. Of all the games, like Valkyrie Elysium, I just thought it was like a terrible idea, like from the get go. It's like, oh, geez, not this again.
Well, it would they could have done better if they had just kind of stuck closer to the source material, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what they were trying to do with Valkyrie Elysium. Like, I just didn't understand what the purpose was other than here's another Valkyrie game. Like, it didn't feel like it fit any niche. It didn't feel like it fit any missing like part of pieces of their portfolio. Um, like look, if you look at Capcom, right? Capcom is smart. Capcom, if you look at all the games, all their best games, they fill a very specific niche
Hmm.
of their entire portfolio, right? And they do it well, right?
Yeah.
Whatever they're sending out, it hits for that crowd.
What are
I
they
don't
doing for their
know. Yeah.
turn-based RPG portfolio?
Monster Hunter Story.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
They
was gonna
have
say,
turn-based. Yeah. I
oh,
mean, it's not
darn
big
it.
on their list, but they do have it, and it is selling rather well. People are
Yeah,
enjoying it.
they should probably
Um,
start doing Breath of Fire. Just saying.
I think Fluffy Dog would appreciate that sentiment. Where's Fluffy Dog?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for the Monday episode. Um, he didn't get the memo. But shout out to you, Fluffy Dog. We missed you, man. Yeah, but Breath of Fire, that'd be great. But there's just this distinctive thing that they do. Like Street Fighter is their like fighting game. You've got Monster Hunter, the regular Monster Hunter, that's more of like a social like RPG. And then you have Resident Evil, which is like the horror element. Like it's
Yeah,
very purposeful how they
agreed.
spread these things out. Mega Man, if they still had it, would have been the platformer, right? So on and so forth. I don't know if you look at the games that Square Enix release, you try to place them into buckets in which like they don't necessarily overlap and try to fight. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma, that's
Oh
your
yeah,
Western RPG, which eats Western RPG for breakfast.
indeed.
It's
Yeah.
there. You thought we couldn't, but here it is. I love the origin story of Dragon's Dogma.
You raise a really good point, and you illustrate it really well. That Capcom really just has like you said, a set of buckets, and they fill those buckets really well.
Yeah.
But I think you were getting to this when you look at Square Enix, like what buckets have they got? Oh, they got a
Yeah,
few
I'm not
buckets, and they're just
sure.
like throwing everything into them. Like
Yeah,
it's you don't really know, like when you look at Square Enix, like
mhm,
what is their turn-based RPG?
mhm,
Um,
yeah. Like, what are
Dragon
you
Quest, I
trying
guess.
to do?
Octopath. What is your action RPG? Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts, Final
yeah.
Fantasy.
I don't know. Like, what are you trying to do? What
And
are you
then
trying to do?
yeah, and like
Like,
yeah, where all of these other things, like where's your strategy RPGs?
mhm.
I mean, mm, I guess
That's
Tactics
why
Ogre
I
Reborn.
supported the idea of releasing Parasite Eve as kind of like a competitor to Resident Evil. I
Yeah,
know it's not a
like a horror.
popular idea
Hmm.
because people want to keep it as like a turn-based RPG thing, but they have plenty of turn-based RPGs. Like, okay, if
Yeah,
they want to
but you could
compete,
position it
yeah,
that way. Like it doesn't.
yeah,
You you
hmm
could still position it that way, even while keeping the turn-based mechanics, as long as you find some other way to embrace the horror aspect, the survival aspect of it.
yeah,
Like
potentially, yeah.
I don't know, maybe make it roguelike, you die in it, you kind of have to start over in this horror setting
hmm
from somewhere else, and the zombies are all different places. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
or
I support it in the sense of like this is a wholly new thing that you could make into a product that could play well and don't compete with your existing titles in your library. You can build a good dedicated following if you build out the lores and really put your heart into it.
I
Right.
mean,
But yeah.
and Resident Evil, honestly, it also started as a turn-based RPG as Sweet Home by Capcom on the
Mhm.
Famicom. So it's like, there are roots there that Capcom could, you know,
Right.
return to if they so were inclined.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, either ways, the point is there's a separation.
Hmm.
I don't. If you ask me what Square Enix like, let's say, what is their turn-based? Well, not turn-based. What is their tactical RPG? What FFT? They haven't made one in ages, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do they have? Like, so when I saw like Dallas Field comes out, I'm like, okay, maybe they're trying to really revive this and have this as like their IP. Oh, that hasn't happened because, people felt like there's no heart in it and they're just like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
just spitting out a game. Triangle strategy, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Let's
That
hope they
would be
make a
nice.
sequel. That
Yeah,
would
I
be
haven't played it yet,
fantastic.
but I did buy that's how the story. I bought the limited edition Triangle Strategy, and
Oh
I had
yeah.
to buy off some guy from Poland. He was like, "Yeah, I'll sell it to you." I was like, "Cool, send it over," and it was wrapped in like Polish newspaper, because that was the only way I can get one without like the ultra inflated like prices. Because there is no limited edition in the States, only in Europe. So I had to source one from Europe, and everyone was selling it at like almost double the price.
Ugh.
Uh,
Oh man.
yeah, I thought that was hilarious. Um, but yeah, so I'm rooting for Square Enix, kind of like you, in a way that they gave me my childhood. They gave me a way in. All my top five favorite RPGs of all time, three of them are Square Enix. So it's actually three, four of them are Square Enix, right? So
Mm.
it's not a stretch for me to say that I still like their
And the fifth
legacy.
one is clearly Terranigma, correct? Clearly.
I don't know if I'd love Terranigma that much. Top 10, maybe. I don't think it's top
We're gonna have a
five for
conversation
me.
off stream here, bud.
Chrono Trigger number one though. Is that cool? Yeah.
All right,
Mm,
fine.
yeah. Okay. But number five is Tactics Ogre. So that it's hard. Yeah. You have to
I
fight. You
gotcha.
have to fight Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy 6,
It's
Romance
tough.
Saga 3, Trials of Mana, the Super Nintendo version,
Yep.
and uh Chrono Trigger. Those are my top five all
Yep.
time. And you just they gave four. That's 4 out of 5, man. That's like
Yeah,
that's
that's
four.
a
That's what.
stiff
Yeah, it's hard.
competition.
Yeah.
Man, how did they do so well back then? It's pretty crazy because that was all like in the span of, if you think about it, like
Mhm.
5 or 6 years too, where they were just like pumping out bangers on the Super Nintendo. Just
That's a good question that we should probably think about it for a minute. Like
yeah.
where did they go? What happened? Like we know
Well,
about
Enix
what
bought them.
time. Right, but I guess the question is, what did they do that was so right and not so much now? Like there's got to be something, you know?
It is a
Like
very good question,
what
and
was it?
I'll have to think on that. You know what?
Yeah.
If you guys think of that answer, throw it in the comments down below because um, that's a tough one. Like how did they happen to capture that lightning in a bottle? Like
Yeah.
with they at no point did they release the Silent Man or the Quiet Man or whatever it was on the Super Nintendo.
Right. Oh, jeez, the Silent Man, Left Alive.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
reading for Left Alive too. Left Alive was like, okay, if you can make your own like Metal Gear Solid, but actually like put your heart in and make a good game, they didn't, and it's like universally panned as a terrible game. Uh, but it could have been. It could have been like their own little Metal Gear Solid, and it could have its own spin-off. It could have revived the whole like which series was it that this was based on? Left Alive was based off of what's a robot tactical RPG that they had back then?
Oh, Front Mission?
Front Mission. Yeah, it was based on the same universe, supposedly, right?
Ah,
That
yeah.
could have like revived the Front Mission thing, and they could have had this like whole like Left Alive slash Front Mission kind of universe. Like it could have been really cool,
Yeah.
but it still rests on you being able to create a good, fun game that people enjoy. Like none of these grand ambitions matter if you couldn't even do that. So, you know.
I think part of it has to be that back in the day, any Super Nintendo game could have been made by like 20 or 30 people.
Mhm.
Like at no point does it take like 200 people to make a Super Nintendo RPG. Like
Complexity of video development, I guess.
so with like the change to that brought with like, you know, PlayStation
Mhm.
2 and so on. Like you have this exponential growth of like what your staff costs are going to be.
Mhm. Yeah.
So then inherently like yeah, I feel like if they scaled back now, they could probably start doing some pretty cool things.
But
I
then
don't
but then
know.
here's but then here's the question. How come Capcom can do it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, they're facing the same pool of talents. They're facing the same development costs. So, or maybe not even Capcom. Like,
That's a
how does
really good question. Yeah.
what is it? How does Vanillaware do it? How does Atlas do it? How does RGG do it?
I feel
You
like
know,
Atlas does
like
it through focus. They have a really defined focus. And I don't know how they lost that focus, but like um looking at Falcom, you know,
how
looking
does
at
Falcom do it?
focus.
Yeah.
They you know, they do it by going slow. They do one or two games at a time. They narrow their focus. But I don't know how Capcom quite does it cuz they're doing a lot more than just like one or two games at a time.
Oh
It,
yeah.
you know, maybe maybe Capcom should buy Square Enix.
Well, Capcom doesn't ask us if their failed game is failing because of graphics. That's for damn sure. So there's that. And it's a cultural thing, right? Because the fact that they okayed it means that somewhere high up in the chain thought that that was the appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's very reflective of their management, like already, right? So it's just like, who thought this was a good idea? Please fire that person. Like it's just who thought Babylon Fail was a good idea? Fire all of them. Like, just all of them should be fired. Like, are you
Oh
kidding me?
man.
Um,
Well, they don't need to be fired. They just need to be, you know, put back into like, you know, pushing papers or something.
banished into the nether realm of Square Enix bottom.
And with that, I think this is a good opportunity for us to shift gears a little bit and just try responding to some of the super chats that we've gotten throughout today's show. So far,
Yes.
we've gotten one here from Still Alive who
Hello,
says,
still alive.
what's each of your favorite traditional jobs from the Final Fantasy job systems like Final Fantasy V, Tactics, etc.? Theirs is Red Mage. So
Okay. Good, good,
I,
good, good
believe it or
choice.
not, never really played a whole heck of a lot of job-based Final Fantasy titles.
Mhm.
Um, so like the kinds where you can change jobs. Um, but uh, but I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think Edge from Final Fantasy IV
Mhm.
had a class that was ninja, I
Mhm.
think, which allowed him to dual wield like two different weapons. Like you could have a sword and a dagger or something, and that was the coolest.
Mhm.
So that's my favorite is whatever lets you dual wield.
Yes, I
And
think
also Dragoon, that was cool too.
I'm inclined to agree. And that ninja is probably the coolest class. You know, being yet ninja is probably the coolest class. But I will say that I have a soft spot for summoners. Summoner is
Ooh.
Summoner is cool. Summoner is
Mm-hmm.
really bad in FFT, I think, because the casting time is stupid. And then people just move out of the area and you're like, oh. But in FF5, summoners were super cool. Like just sending Bahamut to, after your enemies is a sight, and especially because FF5 last boss is like there are different pieces of that last boss, and then Bahamut just like shoots flare at all of them, and I was like, yes. Um, which actually turns out Bahamut is not the best summon at that because his cost is so high. But you know what? Whatever. Like 10-year-old me likes sending Bahamut out to everybody.
Yeah.
Even when it wasn't warranted. Like I can run into like a bunch of slimes and send a Bahamut out. It doesn't matter. I just like the fact that the Dragon King is out there. So yeah, summoner for me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, and with that, despite the fact that we only really had one topic all night, we somehow managed to yammer on for like 2 hours. Can you believe it?
Oh my god. Well,
Well, I can't say I'm all that surprised. I feel like some of our longest discussions ever have been about Square Enix and where we think that they are gone
jeez.
astray, where they're gone wrong, what they're doing. It's just, but it's not going to be like this every time. I think in the future we'll have some other topics to kind of shake things up with.
Mhm.
But hey, if you liked what we did today with our more focused deep dive into the discussion of the day, yeah, give us a thumbs up. It really does help a lot. And I guess with that, Baku, have you got any final thoughts you'd like to leave with the folks?
We're gonna try not to talk about Square Enix for the next two shows.
All
We'll
right.
see.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. And thank you for watching.